I don't have to spend the first 5 minutes telling you how wonderful uranium is and what nuclear is doing and all that, because I've already done that. And there's a few other reasons we really like fission. We've been out there about as long, and I've got a dozen projects ourselves that now that uranium's back and there's a lot more activity in the market, and we're able to raise a lot more money, we're able to get back out to a lot of projects that we've been staring at for a long while, and start systematically working our way through them, and back into something that we hope will be as wonderful as they've managed to find. What you're looking at here briefly is this graph represents the change in price since the end of 2020. The black line is the spot price of uranium, and the white line is the average change in price of all of the public uranium companies in North America. And you can kind of see how it's been. Back in 2021, things kind of went a little crazy. Everybody got excited, but the price of uranium really did sit flat during that time. When Sprott got involved, everything went haywire again, and things kind of inched up. But you know, the uranium prices are still a long ways away from where we know they've got to get to in order to hit incentive prices, start turning on mines again. And so 2022 was a bit of a flat year all around, but all of these stock prices are now starting to come back in and around and follow that Sprott price a lot more closely than they were historically. The orange line, that's us, and I think all it really demonstrates here is that we've been a lot less volatile than most, and we pretty much represent the average of what's been going on out there. And I think now that things have calmed down a bit and we're all waiting for the price of uranium to come back, we will, we'll all be kind of riding that line until something changes. I mean, to break away the pack, you have to do something like fission did, which is come up with something spectacular to move forward with. I'm going to go by that. So we have, as I mentioned, we've got 12 projects in the Athabasca Basin. We've been out there for 15, maybe almost 20 years now, since the last real big go-around in uranium. We managed to keep ourselves busy over the last 10 years with our Hook Lake project, which is our joint venture with Cameco and Orano that we operate. And we've managed to, over that time, garner up a lot of experience and understanding about the basin from one end to the other. What you see here is all of our projects are in orange. The two projects on the left-hand side, those are our joint ventures with Cameco and Orano, Smart Lake and Hook Lake. All of the projects on the east are 100% owned. And as I mentioned, because a lot more capital has been available to us over the last few years, we've really been able to get back out and start working on more of these projects and advancing them along. We've over time, we've been able to do a lot of geophysics, do a lot of prep work, a few smaller kind of initial drill programs to get our legs out there. But now we've got a good idea of where our priorities are, and we've been able to keep the drills going over the last little while. So the first project I'll talk about is Hook Lake. This is again our project with Cameco and Orano. It is on the western side of the basin. Southwest, we sit adjacent to and on trend with Fission's Triple R deposit and NextGen's Arrow deposit. We have a small deposit right at the claim line we call Spitfire, and then the Patterson Corridor, as we refer to it, kind of rides up the center of the project. Our partners have been very supportive of this project over the years, even when things were kind of calm. Is that Paul? Hey, Paul. How are you? And which has been very helpful in kind of validating the prospectivity of this particular project. We've gone in a bit of a different direction this year in that what you see here is, this is actually a gravity survey that the Geophysical Survey of Canada produced about 2 years ago now. The blue is a gravity low, the purple is a gravity high. And what we found interesting is everywhere that we see mineralization as we were working our way up the corridor here, it generally was sitting in that transition between the high and the low. It's a very specific rock type that we became familiar with as we were drilling. And as we got off of that rock type, we would really lose sight of any mineralization whatsoever. The other thing that they determined during this time was that the Clearwater domain was a probable heat source for what mobilized the uranium at that point in time. And so that uranium would have flown out from there and wound up looking for a structure or appropriate setting, such as Triple R, such as Arrow, Spitfire, and on the way up. The other thing I'll point out, which is why I love following fission, thank you guys, is that their find is right about here where my cursor, or where my dot is, on the other side of the domain. So it kind of supports that whole notion and theory that the uranium was being mobilized out of that domain and moving forward. What we garnered from all of this is that this corridor here, which we refer to as the Carter Corridor, is an area that lies untested for the most part. Once things started to light up over here, all of our efforts moved over to the Patterson Corridor, but in fact, this corridor sits right on the right rock type. It sits a lot closer to the heat source, and probably got in the way of things why we were finding less and less mineralization over on this side. So we've been focusing over the last year and a half on that particular area, and right now we have a drill program underway, really our first drill program, testing this to any degree of extent. We did have one drill program about 12 years ago. It was the first drill program on this project down in this area here, and it predates any of the discoveries along here. And at that time, we were looking for uranium right at that, what we refer to as the unconformity, which was shallow. And as we go back and look at that core now, we realize, A, we were hitting into the right rock type, we were seeing the alteration we like to see, and we were stopping short of where we now know all of this mineralization sits, which is well into the basement rock. So this has been an interesting time for us as we've been we did 8 holes. It's really our first broader exploration program of this area. We're focusing on the south here. We've got 8 holes, and we'll be finishing up that project or that program over the next month and have some results out soon. So we're quite excited about Hook Lake at the moment. The other project, let me get ahead of this. The other project that we've been drilling extensively this winter is our Red Willow project. It sits on the northeastern edge of the Athabasca Basin. It's a fairly large project, so it has a lot of different target areas on it. And again, we've been kind of systematically going back to these and are now starting to drill. Everything you see in gray here, we haven't drilled yet. Everything in orange, we've had initial drill programs on and have been finding mineralization in all of those so far. So we're really following up on these 3 this winter, and that program's underway right now as well. What we saw last year up here in this Osprey zone we refer to, you see a bit of an S shape in the target conductor there. We were following up on a lens of mineralization that we saw down here in the heel of this conductor that goes up the project, right up to where Denison is. And we hadn't followed up on that over the last while, just because the world didn't care all that much about uranium until recently. And we went out there and we drilled, we stepped out from that about 25 meters and we hit the exact same zone of mineralization. So then we stepped out another 300, 400 meters to see what it looked like on the other side, and we hit the same thing again. So then we just started systematically moving up that conductor and kept hitting it over and over again. And we've now chased it. It seems to end up here. It's about 2 kilometers long, and so we went back there this winter. We're now starting to go back and try and follow up on the structure and other indicators that we would see as we were drilling along there now that we've sort of figured out the boundaries of it. And that program is going on right now as well, and that will be going on probably for another month or so. The drilling over here is quick. We can get holes drilled fairly quickly because it's shallow. And that's helped us moving forward as well. Third one I'll talk about is Turner Lake. Turner Lake is just to the west of Red Willow, and it's interesting because of what's been going on around it. This is us in green. The conductive zone, or that corridor that runs up on the west side of it, is referred to as the Larock zone. Larock corridor, highlighted by Cameco's 30% hit here along it, or Arano has one down here. But up to the north, this is IsoEnergy's Hurricane deposit along there. And these dots are about 8 kilometers apart, so this is a long corridor. of good-looking stuff. Now, the corridor extends across the top of our property. We had not drilled up here to date. We went up there, we were able to get 2 holes in. It's a helicopter job in the summer, so it's pretty expensive. We just wanted to do some initial holes so we could get an idea of the geology and how things sort of sat down there. We'll be up there again in the summer to do more extensive drilling in that area and test to see whether all of that wondrous joy continues to the north, and we hope so. And I mean, despite that, there is a lot of uranium in this area. I'll point out this sort of pinwheel structure in the center is a granitic zone known as the, what the hell is that called? I can't remember anymore. Doesn't matter. But you can see how all of the conductors seem to twist around it, like somebody stuck their hand in there and gave it a twist. So there's been uranium showings all around that, and we have a number of areas on this project that we have to go back and test. So, you know, again, we've got a large portfolio of projects. We are continuously reprioritizing where we want to go next, and just systematically working through our best prospects in hopes of finding that next big hit. And I think with our partners Cameco and Orano behind us, we've been able to keep certainly Hook Lake moving. As long as they continue to support that project, it helps validate it for the public. Let them know that it's not just me doing my typical promote. And again, we've been out there a long time, so we're able to move through these projects and recognize what we're looking at from one end of the basin to the other quite handily.